You don't want to make your kids' lives cushy all the time because there's going to be stuff out there. They're going to get a coach who's unfair. Those are the poor sports. If you're raising kids that everything has to go their way or perfectly all the time, they're not going to be able to accept when things don't go their way. I used to tell my kids, life ain't fair, kiddo. And they just accept that. But when you come home, safe place to land. We're a happy family. You know, I'm always here for you. Welcome to the Bratbusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at Bratbusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into parenting topics and Lisa will answer your questions. Let's get started.
Okay, sweetie, what is today's topic?
Today's topic is building resilience in your kids.
Very good. I like that. Okay, I definitely did that. I was very keen on doing that. I wanted to teach my kids that life isn't fair. And I always made sure, I said, your home life will always be great as long as I can control that. You'll always come home to a safe place. But when you go out in the world, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. It's not always good. So I wanted them to learn how to handle that stuff and not expect everything to be easy in life. I didn't want to cushion my kids' life. Like I didn't want to protect them from all that stuff out there. The big stuff, of course, but you know, like maybe just a teacher that wasn't that fair. I thought, well, you're going to get bosses who aren't fair either. So it's a good lesson in life. So I really and also I wanted them to be confident and have I want them to have be able to come to me with anything, with questions and opinions. And I wanted them to be free thinkers and problem solvers. I didn't want them coming to me asking me what they should do. They would come to me and say, look, I got a problem. And they knew what was coming next was, well, what are you going to do about it? And then we'd work it through together. I really wanted to raise strong children. That was very important to me, that they were strong and confident and nice.
Have you heard about the concept of manufactured adversity?
I have heard of that. I've heard lots of different ways of it being explained.
What are your thoughts around that?
When you manufacture something that they have to get through, I can't talk about it. I didn't get permission to tell that story, but I had a client who did that, and they set their kid up knowing full well they were going to fail at something, and they did, and it didn't go all that well because the parents weren't leaders, and the kid they ended up fighting all the way home, and there was no lesson learned in that. So we had to flip it around, but they told me about this before they hired me, so it was quite funny. What's a good example that you can think of?
Oh, geez, I just heard it explained. If people are talking, like I listen to a lot of podcasts and they say, you know, like my kids have a comfortable life and I want to make sure that they have some adversity because they think that that's built strength.
I got a good one. When my kids were 15, I was praying, and they had to go out and get a part-time job. They didn't have a choice, and they wanted to, because we didn't spoil them with stuff. It was very important to me. If you want the extras, you got to go out and buy them yourself. We paid for everything when we went out. But when they wanted like some special outfit that was outside of what I was willing to pay, then they had to get a job, and they ended up both loving working. Anyway, I was praying that they both have to clean a public toilet, not as that being their job, but that it would happen. Both of them had to clean disgusting, horrendous accidents that had happened at where they worked. So I was thrilled. I didn't manufacture that adversity, but I was happy it happened.
I think another time that you did that was when you put glitter glue all over my school uniform hat that said Amy with hearts and butterflies. Now, for context, if you're all wearing the same school uniform, I know a lot of people are like, well, that's great because then they have nothing to bully about. Well, if you have a bunch of glitter glue all over your hat, turns out they give you something to bully about.
Okay, here's the problem. I raised my kids in Australia and they have uniforms there at every school. Anyway, but all the hats get stolen all the time. You can put their name inside, but you're not going to ask 300 kids to take off their hats so you can check the name. So what I did was I used glitter glue. With my son, it didn't have glitter, but it was that painted on glue stuff. And I put their names, and I think I put hearts on both of them. Yeah.
Can you imagine that we got to keep our same hats?
No one else wanted those hats, that's for sure. I made sure of that. Also, jackets got stolen a lot. So I made all their uniforms anyway, but I made the jacket just that little bit different, but no one else noticed. But I didn't glitter glue the jacket. No. So yeah, that's adversity.
I like to refer to that as my character building moments in life.
Yeah, we've all had a few of those. But yeah, that was manufactured by me, but I didn't do it intentionally.
No, that was unintentionally manufactured.
Unintentional manufactured adversity. But yeah, you don't want to make your kids' lives cushy all the time. You want, because there's going to be stuff out there. They're going to get a coach who's unfair. They're going to get, those are the poor sports. If you're raising kids that everything has to go their way or perfectly all the time, they're not going to be able to accept when things don't go their way. So it's important that you teach them, yeah, life ain't fair. I used to tell my kids, life ain't fair, kiddo. And they just accept that. But when you come home, safe place to land. We're a happy family. I'm always here for you. So they always had home to sort of their safe place. But I wasn't a mom to go out and save the day, put it that way. If something was going on, I tried to empower them to deal with it on their own. I wanted strong kids.
Okay, should we get started with questions?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So we have Bliss from the United States. I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a fresh newborn. Noticing that as I become less available to my older children with new baby and work from home responsibilities, they don't have very strong independence skills. I did too much for them, and now I'm seeing the effects. There's not much that they know how to do on their own, and stopping to try and instruct them through each process is unrealistic in my daily flow. Where should I start to reverse this? I'm following your methods for toy rotation and independent play and instructing them to do things themselves when I know they're capable. But all of the above is resulting in lots of whining and more stress.
You're expecting too much. A 2-year-old to be able to entertain themselves. You're working from home and you've got a 4-year-old, which is a preschooler. You got a toddler and a newborn. You're expecting too much from that 2-year-old, especially. They do need you a lot, or they certainly need new stuff. I would literally have a basket that I'd have probably several baskets full of different stuff that they could look at. And I would switch those baskets around like crazy. So I'd say, okay, this hour, here's this basket. The next hour, another one. It's going to take some investment in your time in organizing those baskets every night, but you got to give them something to do. You got to. 2-year-old to be independent playing when mom's at work, there's a newborn, and the 4-year-old's probably not going to entertain the 2-year-old. And you don't need that. Shouldn't put that on the 4-year-old anyway. I think your expectations are a little bit off there, to be honest. 2-year-olds, they need direction. They need you around. And even if you're not playing with them, they like you nearby. Like my kids, we had a spare bedroom, which I could have turned into a playroom, and I chose not to. I wanted my kids around me all the time. So if I was in the kitchen cooking, they were under my feet playing. So I just chose that. So it's not, and they were independent playing, but it was at my feet. So they don't like to be left alone. So yeah, that's my gut reaction. I could be off on that, but perhaps that's it. The unfair expectations.
Okay, the next question is Sandra from the United States. I play pretty hard with my 2.5-year-old in his world. We build forts, chase each other around the house, and are just silly together. Sometimes, though, when I need to start dinner or do a task, I tell him I need to go, even though I'm only a few feet away, as our house is pretty small, and he begins to have a tantrum because our play is stopping. I invite him to come help me cook or to try give him a role so he's part of that, but that only works about a third of the time. How do I treat a tantrum that happens because of me ending play with him? Do I continue to ignore and put off my task while I do that? Not sure how to handle this one. Any help is appreciated. Thank you.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could go with this. My gut reaction is if you do play really hard, I would say, okay, time to blah, blah, blah. Sit him up in the high chair, give him some Play-Doh. So you're not saying, I'm going to stop play. You're telling him, okay, time for this. And that's his independent activity, but have it ready. So say, okay, time for this. And then you get him set up on his own with another activity. And then you can go and cook dinner and let him have a tantrum. But yeah, give him something else to do. You direct him into something else. So rather than say, I'm going to stop this now, you're saying, we're going to go to this now. It's like in schools, they're really good at this. They say, okay, time for lunch, let's clean up. So they're not just saying, let's clean up. They're saying, it's time for lunch, let's clean up. So they're leading them into the next activity. It's sort of like that. So yeah, lead them into that. Like with my kids, if we were playing, and we played a lot, but if we were playing, I'd say, okay, I'm going to go cook dinner. Mom's got your stuff ready too. So I always had some lettuce or something, and I'd give them a little plastic knife, and I'd set them up at the little kitchen table, and they'd sit there cutting lettuce. So, okay, mom's going to go cook dinner, so you're going to have to help. And, but yeah, then I had something for them to do too. And then they'd usually get bored and walked off and do something on their own anyway.
Okay, the next question is Annie Kate from the United States. My nearly 4-year-old daughter is a bit more emotional than other kids, as far as I can tell. I'm having a hard time figuring out how much comfort I'm supposed to be offering her versus tough love to let her figure out how to handle her feelings, knowing some of it is definitely performative. For example, school drop off with me, the mom, she'll be sobbing. I give her a quick hug and leave immediately, and the teachers say that she calms down in a few minutes, but the entire time on the car ride there, she's asking if I'm going to stay with her over and over again. Another example, there was a wasp in her room at bedtime, and it took several minutes for her to calm down after we got rid of it. She kept crying, asking over and over again what happened. She's otherwise a sweet, happy, playful kid, but these emotional moments seem to compound, and I don't know how much attention to give them. Thank you.
When you're calm, they usually calm down. So I'm. It sounds to me like she's feeding off of your energy. Do you get stressed out when she cries and gets all upset? Like if I was dropping her off, I'd say, "Okay, see you later." I've already hugged her, maybe in the car or in the parking lot. Probably wouldn't hug her once you're in the classroom because you don't want to. You just want to make that super fast. So you've said goodbye. At home, you might even do it at home. All the way there, are you going to be taking me to school? Don't answer that. Say, you know where we're going. And then I just change the subject. I might sing songs or just be looking out the window. You're probably answering her. So you're probably feeding it. I don't give attention to what I don't want and what isn't needed. Like, I don't want her to keep asking me that. So I don't give that any attention. You stay on the high road. You control the energy. You control the narrative. She's trying to control it. And then after that bee thing has happened, you're over explaining. You just are, I can tell you're over explaining everything. Oh, it's just a bee. Sometimes it stings. We want to get it out of here. That's it. If she's being a pest about it, I'd just say, that's enough. And then I'd just walk away and change the subject or whatever. She's trying to control the narrative because you aren't, because you are allowing her to do that. So yeah, she'll eventually. And the teacher said she's fine after you leave. So make the goodbye really quick. And also make the hello really no big deal. So, okay, in the morning when you drop her off, say, okay, see you later, and then leave. When you go to pick her up, say, okay, we're going to go in the car now. Don't say, oh, I've missed you so much. Don't make it all emotional. Don't feed the drama. So I'm thinking that you do.
How do you discern when you're being dismissive when they truly are emotional about something that's valid?
Well, I already know because in the car, are you taking me to school? Are you taking me to school? She already knows the answer. She's 4 years old. I just know. I understand kids. She's trying to control the narrative. She's trying to upset you. Okay, that's all it is. That's how I know. That's the clue. That's the tell.
Okay. Is there any other tip though if a parent, like let's say those were two specific scenarios, but what if there's another scenario that comes up? Is there any way for a parent themselves to discern that?
Well, I'd need the specific situation. Some kids are more emotional than others, but I have never found a kid who doesn't react. Now, I've worked with hundreds of kids, and I often get them when they're in that heightened state, right? People have handed them over to me in that heightened state. I find the calmer I am, the calmer they are. They feed off of you, not the other way around. So I've never met a kid yet, and I've worked with troubled teens and everything. I've gone in psych wards with dangerous teenagers, and the calmer I am, the less I react to their drama, the calmer they are. So I've never found it doesn't help. And once you've mastered that, if they're still like that, then you might want to do some research into what's going on. But if you're not already a really calm leader, just work on that first.
Okay, the next question is Alicia from Australia. Hi, Lisa. Do you have any advice for a 7-year-old who's shy and often won't respond to people outside of our family when they say hello or try to make small talk with him? Should I give a consequence for ignoring, or should I not address it and wait for him to grow out of it? I've been working on my leadership since I found you a few months ago, and I no longer yell or get angry. We're also playing and connecting a lot.
Oh, good for you. So I always say I give the advice, you're the ones doing the work. Good for you. Okay, 7-year-old, has he got selective mutism where they just don't talk when they get stressed out or whatever? If he doesn't, there's no way I would push a kid. If they're rude, I would say something. But if they just don't talk, I'd say, oh, he's just shy, and then just change the subject. Don't allow that other person to just try and bring them out of it. I think that's kind of rude. Like, I would never do that. If someone said that, if I said to hi to someone's kid and that kid ignored me, and the parent said, oh, he's just shy, then I would just talk to the parent. So don't ever try and force the kid. So yeah, just let it go. He'll outgrow it, I'm assuming. But good for you. You're doing the work. You're getting the results. Pat yourself on the back.
Okay, the next one is Anna from the United States. Almost 4-year-old, how to handle his doom and gloom attitude. Will say things like, I'll never play again if something doesn't go his way. He's also overly dramatic when he gets hurt, pretends he can't walk.
Okay, if he says I'll never play again, if so he loses, I'll never play again, I'd say, "Oh, what do you want for dinner?" Literally, just give that the attention it deserves. Yeah, he's going for the martyr, the pity. Don't give him any. Yeah, that's it. Nobody likes me. I hate my blah blah blah. All right, you want to go read a book? So yeah, change the subject. If you know it's just self pity and he's trying to get some sympathy, sympathy is never a good thing. There's two emotions that never lead anywhere good. One is sympathy and one is guilt. So yeah, don't feed his sympathy. Don't sympathize with that if you know it's just overly dramatic. Okay, I'll never play again. Well, there you go, eh? Yeah, just let it go.
Do you find that kids do that specifically, like more with one parent versus another? Like, would they also do that with a teacher
No,
or?
no. That's the thing is it only works. They only do it with someone who's going to give them the pity. Like there's just yeah, I know for a fact that they're more inclined to do that with the one who gives them the pity. You never ask for sympathy from like I never had kids do that with me. I know I've worked with lots of kids and then they were real whiners and complainers. And if they did that with me, I'd just say, alrighty then, that's life, isn't it? Oh well, you know. So and then oh, that didn't work, and then they'd stop. It's like it's one of those things that they give up real fast when it starves very quickly. It's like the difference between water and food. You can go without water for a very short period of time, but you can go without food for weeks. But it's like that with this. Sympathy dies out. It's like with water. You need it. You need to get the sympathy to keep whining, to keep complaining.
Okay, we have Chris. Ooh,
Was that
okay.
a really bad analogy?
You lost me a little, but I feel like I kind of got there.
That was a bad one.
Sometimes with your analogies, I'm like, is it just because I know you so well that I get it? Or
Well, some of my clients, if I say, well, I got an analogy for that, I have literally some clients I've been working with for ages, and they'll go, oh no, not one of your analogies.
I'm terrible at them too. I think it's hereditary.
I do, you poor thing. I'm sorry. Okay, next question.
There's 4 steps to an apology, Mom.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I should. Well, now that you've said that, I have to say it. I always say there's 4 steps to a good apology. This is more with adults or anyone, you want to teach your kids this too. It's based on the fact there's no shame in making a mistake. There's just shame in not being accountable for it and not making it right. Okay, so I never taught my kids that you have to be perfect. I just taught them that if you hurt someone or you do something wrong, you got to make it up. Right? So here's the 4 steps. You say, I'm sorry, just to start the ball rolling. To me, the words I'm sorry are empty. They mean nothing, but you just want to hear it's coming is what I'm getting at. So I'm sorry. The second step is take full responsibility. Don't say, I'm sorry I was late, but if you'd told me a different time, I would, don't blame anyone else or anything else. So take full responsibility. The third step is make amends. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? And then you offer something, like let's say you're late for meeting friends somewhere. Sorry, I was late. I should have known traffic was going to be bad. My bad. Anyway, how about I buy the popcorn at the movies or something? So offer something. And then the last step is step number 4 is don't keep doing it. If you keep doing the same mistake over and over again, that apology was squat. So anyways, that's the 4 steps to a good apology. And it's based on being accountable and responsible and treating other people with respect, which is what we're doing here with kids. It's just a little bit different the way we do it.
Speaking of traffic, I forgot to tell you offline, so I'm just going to tell you right now. It's 30 seconds. It was so great today. So I was in traffic and there was an HOV bus lane, and it was only buses allowed in there. And don't you know, there were 2 cars going through it trying to get through all the traffic. Don't you know, there was a cop car on like their little motorbike, pulled them both over.
Don't we love justice? We all love that because it's only people who are not cheaters, like we are not cheaters at all. We follow the rules, but we love it when we see someone get caught cheating because they're always budding in front of us. And we love it when they get caught. Yeah, that was good. I haven't seen that for a while. That was good.
Told me to be grateful about things. I was grateful for that today.
Oh, aren't you special? Good girl.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Kristen from the United States. I have a 2.5-year-old. She's so kind, polite, says please and thank you, and funny, but she has huge separation anxiety problem. She has always been this way, but it's gotten worse in the last few months. She screams for me to pick her up, even when I'm already holding her. I can't go to the bathroom alone without a tantrum. She won't settle for my husband for bedtime, only me. She won't even let me step out of the room, cries for me for the first 20 minutes when any of the grandparents come to visit because she thinks they're coming to babysit and that I'm leaving. I appreciate any advice. Thanks.
Okay, when you do, okay, I forgot exactly what I was going to say there because you keep talking and I forget my train of thought. But you said that even when you're going to the bathroom or anything, she doesn't want to be alone. That's okay. But when you come back, don't make a big deal out of it. So let her scream, let her cry. But when you come back, just go on as if you weren't even gone. It's the reunion that they often like. That is what they often feed off of. Here I am. Here I am. Yeah, I don't talk like that. So if they have a fit and they're screaming because you've left the room, when you come back, just go about your business. And it's the reunion stuff is what they're often after. Not always, and they do outgrow separation anxiety, especially when they're dropped off at daycare or preschool or wherever they first start. It's 3 to 6 weeks, but they'll get used to it. And the whole idea is you don't put a lot of emotion or drama around the goodbye or the hello. Okay, that is the separation and the reunion. Don't make a big deal out of either one of those. She'll outgrow it.
And I want to, before I ask this question, I want to make it clear, Kristen, I am not saying that this is your situation, but when it comes to separation anxiety in general, do you find that some parents feed it because it almost feels flattering?
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, yeah. A lot of moms especially like it when their kids cry when they leave because it makes them feel good. You're not doing them any favor by enjoying that, because then you tend to drag it out and make it worse. Yeah, yeah, don't do that. But yeah, that's often the way. But I mean, they're going to be attached. It's not that they don't love you, but you're their parent and they're going to be naturally attached to you. So it can be a bit scary. Like I babysit my granddaughter one day a week. She's great now, but she did that when her mom was leaving. And the mom would try and sneak out, but sometimes she'd have to come back in because she forgot something, and then grandchild would cry. This is when she was more like a few months ago. She's 18 months now. But anyway, so yeah, it's quite normal for them to do that. But usually once that parent's gone, then they're fine. But of course you're going to be the most important person in their life. That's normal. But you don't want to be the only one in their life. You want them to be okay with other people too. And that's what I say to my daughter-in-law and my son. I said, you're always going to be number one and number two. I mean, they're always going to be first. But isn't it nice that she has other people that she's also comfortable with? And they get used to that. And they're okay with that. It doesn't mean that they don't love the parents the most. It just means that they actually have other people who love them too and look after them, which is lovely.
Okay, we have one final question. So, Jessica from Australia. How do I best equip my 7-year-old daughter to navigate friend issues and bullying at school? She has a very small class with only 5 girls, and I feel like we've exhausted our own toolkit. Is it ever good to consider changing schools? Thank you.
Okay, so there's 5 girls. Jeez. God, I'd almost consider changing schools. That is really a small pool to pull from. But I wouldn't. Now, why would I not have changed schools with you?
From my perspective, it would be that you wanted to equip me with the tools on how to handle this.
Exactly. And even if she didn't have any friends, which happens sometimes with kids, because you're usually just limited to your classroom when you're younger, right? Whereas in high school, you got different classes all throughout the day with different students. But when you're young, it's a very tiny pool to pull from. So yeah, I would teach her in the just get along and just go with the flow. And then next year, you'll probably be new kids or whatever, and you'll make new friends. But I didn't want to try and protect my kids from that sort of thing. Because I always say when they came home, and then they had other things they could do, like you had dance, all your other friends were there. So, but yeah, it's just, I would actually consider changing schools only because it's so few to pull from, if it's really that bad. But otherwise, yeah, if it's only going to be for 1 year, I would almost be tempted. She's 7 now. I'd almost be tempted to just teach her, just go along with it. You'll be on the outskirts, maybe. Maybe they won't want to play with you some days, but that's just life, sweetie. And then we'll go and join something else after school where you can have friends there.
I think definitely having outside activities helped, because I was actually in a very similar situation. I, in grade 2, had a group there were 4 of us friends. And then the next year, all 3 of them got to go in one class and I was in the other. And I remember I didn't know anyone in my new class. But I feel like from what I remember at that age, you got me in a lot of I was in other activities. And I actually funny enough, befriending some more of the guys in the class.
Yeah, and all of her friends in that class were guys, and they all got along great, and guys aren't as catty. And plus they tend to beat each other up, but they weren't beating a girl up. So she got the best of both worlds.
Well, I wasn't very good at rugby, but they used to love it when I played because none of the other guys wanted to go near me to like grab the ball.
Isn't that
so
cute?
I was actually fantastic simply just because.
And they were so nice to her too. So that was actually a really good, character building year for her. And then she had all of her friends at dance. So,
but it was difficult. I remember that.
Yeah. And, you can find, and like with dance, we lucked out. We got in a really good, actually, I had her in another one at first. It was a more serious dance school. And I realized it wasn't really the right vibe. The moms weren't even that nice to each other. It's more competitive. And then we ended up going to this smaller dance school. They were darling. Just the lady who owned it was adorable. And that we were there for 8 years, I think, long time, just loved it. So yeah, sometimes you got to search around for different things. School isn't all that they can have. They can have other stuff too.
Okay, well, that was it for the questions.
Okay, so that was building resilience, which I happen to think is really important because you're building them up for reality, for life, because there's lots of stuff they're going to come up against in life, and it's rough. I remember just a little bit about myself. I lost my dad when I was 14, but he got sick when I was 10. So my childhood disappeared. I didn't have a childhood, and but it built a toughness in me. But what it built in me was compassion, because I can sense problems. I can sense heartache in someone a mile away. That was something I developed at a very young age. And so resilience made me a better person. I would rather be a rotten, worse person and have had my dad, but resilience can make them kinder too. So that's another plus. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. We'll talk again soon. Happy parenting.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out bratbusters.com to learn more about the behavior board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit bratbusters.com/disclaimer.